too. Great. Okay. So Lee, can you like write in the Instagram live chat so I can invite you on? And
yeah.
We'll go ahead and do this. So we're kind of like, yeah, this is our first time doing it too.
There we go.
Oh, wait.
Great. Okay.
Mute yourself there, Lee.
Can you
turn
like
on your
write
phone?
in the Instagram live chat so I can invite you on?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and do this. So we're kind of like,
okay. Let's see.
This is our first time doing it too.
There we go.
Add as moderator,
Okay,
follow.
there, Lee. Can you turn on your phone? In the Instagram live chat so I can invite you
We're
on?
getting feedback.
Go ahead and
okay, I see why. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, this is our first time doing it too.
Okay, that's why we were getting
there we
feedback.
go.
Okay, guys, stay tuned. I promise you it's going to be as soon as we get all this working out, we're going to have a ton of fun, and we're going to be live for like an hour. You guys are going to be learning from somebody that has been in the game for as long as anybody. We're going to answer all of your guys' questions. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I got to figure out how to invite Lee on here to remove from live video, add moderator. Does anyone know how to do that?
Yeah, how do we do it last time?
I don't remember. Request to join. Oh, here, accept.
There we go.
Come on.
There we go. All right.
Moment of truth. Wait, are you on there?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Come on. Hey, can you guys hear us okay? Would you give us a 777 there in the chat box if you guys can hear us okay? And then we'll go ahead and get started. Lee, I don't see you yet on
It's coming on now. There we go.
There it is. Okay, so
nice.
Now you need to mute. Okay, I think we're good.
So I muted the phone. All right, we should be good.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing the same. Just put my volume down. All right, everyone. Welcome to this IG Live / YouTube Live / Zoom call that we're doing here with the Crypto Didact. So for those of you guys that, okay, on YouTube, we're not getting any audio. Why is that happening? Oh, I muted myself. / Okay, here. This should work. Let me know on YouTube there if you guys are getting audio. Give me just like a yes or 777 in the chat box, and then we'll actually start here.
It won't let me mute all the way though, which is weird.
Okay, that's all right. It sounds fine to me.
Okay.
Okay, everyone. So let's do this. Let's start the party. So our goal for the next hour or so is to just provide as much value as possible. We've invited a guest on here that some of you guys may have met before, some of you not. Somebody that's been trading Bitcoin since it was a penny. So he has as much experience as anybody in the space. He's been around for as long as anyone. So it's going to be really, really awesome. So Lee, oh, whoa, Lee's on fire on Instagram. That was pretty cool. So Lee, will you just tell everyone kind of like really briefly, take them back, like, because I know not everybody knows your story, just in like 1 or 2 minutes, take them back to like, how did you get into Bitcoin and like a little bit about like that journey, and then we'll start just answering as many questions as possible.
Yeah. So originally, actually, I started because I was doing like FX trading, and I wanted to do some more like active style trading with some riskier investments. And so in that process, I actually by accident kind of read the Bitcoin white paper, and like that kind of started everything for me. It unlocked like this vision of the future, and that was it. So like I was getting involved, like buying my first Bitcoin, where you had to buy it like basically off bulletin boards, right? You would spin up a full node, and then you'd have to like get on with someone else that you didn't really have trust with, and you'd have to exchange information. It was very, very risky back then. And then that progressed to playing like Satoshi dice, where we were risking like, 100 Bitcoin on a single dice roll, which nowadays is like really insane to think about. I actually have to not think about a lot of the stuff I did back then because, the amount of money that is today is quite staggering. So yeah, that's kind of it. And then I evolved to building algorithms and shifting my style of trading to more algorithmic and data driven. And then now we've just been applying that to what we think is going to be the wildest market ever to have existed on the planet. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. So, let's just get straight into this. Like, guys, we're here to answer your questions. So I'm going to be reading all of the chat. And so if you guys do have questions, we want to really make this about you guys, not necessarily about what me and Lee want to talk about. We're going to talk regardless, because we're just going to hang out. But with that being said, I think the most appropriate thing to talk about first is this huge news of Elon Musk wanting to buy all of Twitter, right? We saw the other day that he became a majority shareholder. And then today he's like, I want to just buy the whole thing. Like, what do you make of this?
I think it's pretty crazy. There's a couple ways you could look at it. I think the people that really love Elon Musk and maybe think his farts don't stink love this idea because they think he's going to buy it and open up and make it more accessible to everyone. But already it's pretty accessible to everyone, right? But it's also a platform that Elon Musk likes to use as a pulpit to spread his messages. Because, I mean, we could argue that Elon Musk is the greatest marketer to have ever existed, right? And now he's buying the platform that he uses most. So maybe a conflict of interest. I don't know. Maybe better. Maybe it's good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I worry, like, here's the thing, right? Like, you get Twitter, which now you control all this information flow and communication. And now Elon Musk gets this like pseudo God status. And then he gets elected into like public office, becomes president, and then dictator of the world.
Yeah. I mean, I think he kind of already has like this pseudo God status, right?
He does. Yeah.
Amongst a lot of people. And, you know, when I first saw this, I kind of thought like, you know, because I've seen his tweets and he seems to be somebody that's for the freedom, you know, he really wants the freedom of speech. Like, at least that's what he says. Right. And he's not one of these guys that's just, you know, gonna, you know, ban whoever for whatever they're saying. So yeah. I kind of like that. But then also you're right. Like, it's this massive platform that, you know, one guy controls. I
mean, we all remember like funding secured at $420, right? I mean, that basically made him the richest man in the world. That one tweet ignited the whole thing about Tesla stock.
Yeah.
And then like what happened? He had to pay a fine. Like, what does he care? It's like, it's becoming like the, you know, the drug industry, where they're going to make these drugs and they're going to make so much money on it. They don't care that they break laws and like have to pay some fines because it's part of the business model.
Right.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting as well. I saw somebody saying that there should be like some sort of, the shareholders should form some sort of like DAO where these people get to decide on like, you know, what's accurate, what's not, like what should be trending, what should not be trending.
Yeah.
Maybe he's, I mean, that forward thinking, I don't know.
It is interesting though, because it is a private company, or it's a public company, but it's a for-profit company, right? It's not like a government forum or anything, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we're also stepping on some, basically the rule is now, well, if we don't like what these private companies are doing, we'll just take them over and do what we want. Right. And so like, then that increases the accumulation of wealth at the very top. Yeah. Oh, someone doesn't like talking about Tesla right now.
Well, that's too bad. We're gonna talk about what we want to talk about.
But I think it's cool because I think maybe this could be a testing bed for how do you implement crypto into real life and use it for actual consensus, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about what people want to talk about. I've seen like 3 people like ask about XRP and like Ripple and what's going on there. Lee, what is your like thoughts, I guess, on
So I guess they're talking about the ISO 222 tokens, which basically that is you can go and there's a website, you can read it. It's an ISO protocol, just like, you know, I used to work in semiconductors and we had all these ISO protocols that basically it's standardization. And so what these tokens are basically doing is using this communication structure for default. And so basically what they're thinking is that all of the rest of the world, as they transition to crypto, will want to use these coins that are ISO compliant, basically. But, you know, they have lots of speed and stuff like crypto. I mean, it's pretty centralized, XRP.
Yeah, for sure.
But it has a use case that's outside of what most people are thinking about as crypto. It's kind of like quant, right? I think those are both good plays, but those plays are about bringing legacy systems into the modern crypto universe, right?
Yeah. Lee, have you been seeing on a totally different subject? I was just catching wind of this. I guess it was yesterday about this new type of stablecoin. They're calling it like Stablecoin 2.0. I guess it's called FPI. I don't know if you've heard this, but it's basic. So it's an interesting concept. They're basically it's basically an inflation adjusted stable coin. You know, the challenge is right now, right? When you go to stable coins right now, you're losing 8.5% per year. Supposedly this is going to be like this new type of stable coin that is like, you know, it's automatically somehow adjusted for inflation, which is kind of interesting.
That's neat.
Yeah. So I was just curious if you had read that. I think it's kind of like a newer thing, but
yeah, I mean, those ideas have been talked about a lot going back for a lot of period of time, because you can take that same idea and think about this. Like, let's say you were trying to prevent people from accumulating too much wealth, right? Well, basically you could just enable inflation basically at some level of wealth would just kick off so much. It'd be no point in accumulating above that. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, that's a neat idea that's been talked about for a long time. Like, what if once you reached a certain level of wealth, you started transacting in a separate currency? So you were no longer basically pulling from the plebes, right? Or from the lower income people. So I think that's really cool. I think crypto's naturally going to explore like all these really old kind of Austrian economic ways of thinking. And that's one of them.
Yeah.
You know, FK Hayek talked about that, like, it's like not, I think that's called infinite banking, something like this, but basically like every bank would have its own currency, like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, like every institution would have its own coin basically. And then it would go to market and the market would decide which coins to use. And this is like a long time ago, this was talked about, right? And so crypto is actually enabling like a lot of these like old ideas that now we can implement through code, which makes it much easier than people. Mm-hmm. So I think it's interesting.
The like, what do you see, like, you know, for somebody that's been in the space for as long as anybody, right? Like you've been following it since it was like a penny, you know, you bought in just around like a penny. And so you've really been seeing it, you know, for this long. Where do you see crypto going, like in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what do you see as the evolution of cryptocurrency in terms of like how we use it actually in the world?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see that now, where basically we have to get crypto to kind of connect with real life. And so you're starting to see it where you're having people like Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey that are taking their credibility from the old world and they're stepping into crypto and they're kind of bringing that credibility and they're starting to build out like real systems, right? Like I think now the next frontier is going to be making payment systems where it can be like, I can set my website up to all transact and then also invoice. Like now it's really difficult for a company to take crypto because like there's no invoice, there's no receipt, none of that, right? So building all the software and the infrastructure that enables basically copying the old world into the crypto world, because crypto is just better, right? It's trackable, it's auditable, it's less redundant, it's highly searchable. So I think like that's how it fixes the world. And really it's an efficiency boom. Not too much on the surface is going to change. Like the world of 2050 doesn't look so different, but under the hood, it's much different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to be respectful of people's questions. We've got a couple of people asking, like, you know, obviously you don't have a crystal ball, but people are asking, when do you think Bitcoin can reach a new all-time high?
I think like, you know, we've kind of been talking about this, but I think towards the end of the year, we will, or, you know, maybe 3 months from now, we'll see Bitcoin back at that previous all-time high level. And that'll kind of define if we're really in this trend that we've been tracking and talking about all year, or if we break out of that and move, you know, significantly higher. The on-chain data, which is, you know, we talk about on-chain data sometimes, but that really covers just the supply side, not the demand side. And, you know, price movement is driven by supply and demand. So the supply side of the equation would look like we are gearing up for a move back to retest those all-time highs. But really we're waiting for demand. And you know, my thesis still kind of stands that we really need regulation to come in before you're going to see the next really big exodus into all-time highs across the whole market. Because you're talking about, you need trillions of dollars to come in, right? This either comes through the government printing money, which means the value of the market is being inflated anyways by fake money, or you're bringing new money in. And so like that's the only two ways that the market can grow. And I just don't see like, New money coming in without regulation.
And so
in any significant way anyway. I think retail is always going to be coming in, but retail is not the big money, right?
Sure. So you're saying that, like, because it's really been like, I don't know, for the last year, right? It's, as we have been kind of ranging with Bitcoin, it's like it feels very much that there's not new money coming in. It's just this player versus player type of market. And so you feel like, the next big move or catalyst in the market that's going to take us from like a $2 trillion market cap to like a $10 trillion. You feel like that is waiting on more regulation. And
that's a post-regulation world. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because think how stressful it was just to do taxes now. I mean,
yeah,
I hate it. Like, I hate doing taxes now. I didn't mind it too much before, but like since crypto, it's like, dang, this is difficult, and it's not clear. And so the software tools are just barely getting there. Like, it's just not easy yet. So companies, think about them, like they have way more at stake, and they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. They have to know that they're not walking off a cliff.
Right.
This is why this is why Elon Musk refused to join the board of Twitter, because once you join the board, you now have a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Never thought about that.
Yep.
Huh. Interesting.
He's really freaking smart. Like, he's not God, but he's a really smart dude, right?
Oh, no doubt.
And he works like, okay, I will remind, like, there's a story back when they were dragging Henry Ford into court. And basically, like, his investors were saying, like, this man's incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's uneducated, blah, blah, blah. And so they're quizzing him and like, they're asking him all these questions. And finally, he like stops him and he says, listen, like, I may not know the answer to every one of your questions, but on my desk, I have a row of buttons that I can press and have someone come in and answer any question you ask me. Yeah. So Elon Musk has also surrounded himself with the smartest people on the planet. So like, that's a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with this whole situation, for sure.
I mean, freedom's like crypto's about freedom and like value transfer and freedom of storage. And now Elon like loves that idea now. He's finally come around. And also information and freedom of speech is that same sort of value, right? And so
imagine a world where Elon, he overtakes Twitter. He makes Dogecoin the coin of Twitter, and I mean, it's like, golly, there's just.
I'm thinking about which line of the simulation I'm on, and I'm thinking about the other me's right now. I'm like, dang, like, y'all, we got a weird one coming. Like, what are y'all dealing with?
I know.
Yeah, Elon Musk is president with the Shiba Inu dogs.
Yeah, or what if Elon he brings he becomes full owner of Twitter, brings Trump back onto the platform, and Trump's back off. Like, who knows?
Back, yeah, I don't know what
the secret plan is. Like,
that's what's so cool about, like, nobody knows all the answers, but you can kind of tell what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back more crypto specific. People are asking a little bit about Near here on YouTube. I'm hearing, and I know, like, we talked about this on the phone last week. About Near. What's your take on Near, and maybe just a brief explanation for people that aren't familiar with what's going on there?
Yeah, Near is an interesting project. It's like it's a EVM compatible chain too, but they're basically like trying to fix all the problems that the other chains have. So we'll see if it works, but it's pretty good. They have sharding, they have some good security measures, and so I think that's why they think they're going to launch something similar to like Anchor or like Terra, because now their chain is ready, and so we'll see if it can handle it and if it scales. But it's definitely an interesting platform.
And so for those of you guys that aren't familiar, so there's this rumor. I guess it's just a rumor at this point that Near is going to come out with their own stablecoin, USDN, and it's going to work algorithmically similar to how UST works. And obviously we saw with UST adoption what happened to the price of Luna over the course of the past year, right? Like, it blew up. And so there's this narrative of you know, if there's this protocol on Near that's similar to Anchor, then the timing is interesting, right, Lee? Because your protocol is likely going to have to, they are going to reduce their rates. So there could be this massive influx of people looking for stablecoin yields, right?
I definitely think there's going to be rotation in there. And which is why I talk about, like, I look at the chart like on Luna, and, you know, twice now I've been right about those pullbacks, by the way. Now, this time is the only time that's been coupled with narrative change too, right? That's dangerous, right? So we're at a top. All the tools are saying we're moving lower, and you're getting this shift of narrative. Like, that's why I say, like, $50 Luna, not out of the question. And if it hits 50, I'm going to be scooping it up still. But like, there is going to be this, you know, $1,000 Luna was the only thing, and UST was the only thing. If there's now 50% goes to Near, now you have $500 Luna, right? Like, you have to share the load. So I think investors are probably thinking the same thing. Like, hey, this is something that can be copied, right? They're seeing the writing on the wall. The only thing that Near doesn't have yet, which we've seen all the successful chains of, and we've talked about this, like Bitcoin had Satoshi Nakamoto, like ETH has Vitalik, Terra has Dogecoin. Near doesn't have the charismatic leader to kind of like guide the army of buyers, right?
Yeah.
And so if that does take off, I imagine it'll be somewhat more organic, just because there won't be like these maxis, which, holy crap, there's so many maxis now. What is wrong? That's not good.
Well, I think it's just the maxis are the people that, you know, they bought in early and they were right and pumped their bags.
Buy my bags.
They're just trying to defend their bags, right? I mean, that happens. Like, I mean, it happens with, I feel like, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Luna, it doesn't matter, right? Like, I mean, me too, right? Like, in a sense that, okay, if something made me rich, you know, and like, you know,
but we're transitioning, because like, if we want crypto to succeed, that can't be the mechanism. You can't have people that get in early benefit more than people that come in later, right? Yeah. And so we're transitioning now from how do you make a ton of money off crypto? Start building businesses on crypto. Start actually like implementing real life value. That's how you make a ton of money on crypto. And that's the stage we're in. Like, you can still make a ton of money like getting early and trading all this, but like the next trillionaires, look, FTX. Like, that's a business that was built utilizing crypto. That's the most one of the most valuable young kids anyways. He's worth 22 billion. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say.
I was listening to an interview with him. It was crazy. Like, and this is where you just have to think about how do you exploit value? So he was saying, like, when FTX started, he came from a wealthy family, right? So when he actually started trading, he had over $1 million. And what they were doing was basically, in the US, they could buy Bitcoin for like 10 grand, right? And then in Japan, they could go and sell it for like 12 grand. So they were making $1 million a day doing this arbitrage deal.
Wow.
Yeah. $1 million a day.
Jeez, I didn't
and then so what they did is slowly they're just building out the code to like make that automated, right? And then they're adding more layers on top of layers on top of layers. So Alameda Research essentially was just like an arbitrage company. Like, they were just buying on one exchange literally and going to another exchange and making $1 million a day.
Oh my God.
So like now, like I'm saying, the values in building, I think, because that's really scalable. Like, even as we watch, like, you know, $100 trillion come in, people are going to get really rich, but those businesses built on top of that are going to be even richer, right? So,
sure. No doubt.
Yeah. That's why PayPal is probably going to be one of the most valuable companies on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if y'all have never researched the PayPal mafia, y'all should go look that up.
What is the PayPal mafia?
The PayPal mafia, essentially, like all the modern world, all came from the founders of PayPal. Even Elon Musk, right? Because he built Zip2Go. Peter Thiel, all those guys. Like, there's the PayPal mafia, and they basically started all of the major internet companies that control the world now. It's interesting, from this small group of people here in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
So Zuckerberg wasn't on there, but pretty much everyone else was like from PayPal.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. So where does this leave us? We're talking about, you know, we've been big proponents of Luna, you know, like I know you've been a huge fan, still are.
Still am.
At least as far as I know, right? Where does this leave Luna? Like, with this narrative of, okay, Anchor yields are going to start, going down from 19.5% next month to 18%.
But at some point, I think like there's not a, so at some point, I think like what they're trying to do is they're trying to soft land, and they want the borrowing paid rate to equal what they pay out to investors, right? So I still think that's going to fall above 10% somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So even with Near, like, look how much collateral is on Anchor, like on Luna, on Terra. I mean, like it's huge. It's going to take a while. Let's see what it's at right now. Yeah, I mean, there's $12 billion of collateral right now, and there's $3 billion worth of borrowing. I mean, that's a lot of money, like that'll have to like just disappear, right? So I think the soft landing, everyone's going to have a landing of some kind, because nobody can give 20% forever.
For sure.
Until like they have like some monetary gear that you engage, right? But like we're in internet businesses, you have to have the users first, and then you can engage monetization, right? Yep. But if you monetize and try to build at the same time, you break it. It doesn't work. So all the API and all of the returns in crypto right now, a lot of it's all marketing. And like, we shouldn't think that that's bad.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about Amazon sold products at a loss for like 10 years to get the users. And then what they do, and then they engaged Amazon Prime. They became the most valuable company in the world. And then they just started levering up. Yeah. Elon Musk built an internet company. His first one sold for $30 million. He then levered that into a deal with PayPal for whatever hundreds of millions of dollars. He then levered that into Tesla. He's now the richest man in the world. So like, this is the idea with crypto, is like, you just got to figure out how to keep leveraging. And usually that's going to be through businesses. I think not buying new coins. Like, you need to have your base coins, your portfolio, your trading strategies. But then like, you really need to get involved with just building. And like, how do we get crypto into real life? Most of the consulting meetings I'm taking now are from people here in this area that want to implement it in their business. They see the power of it, but they're like, Lee, how? What's the strategy? How do I actually do it?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we're talking about this, right? Like, I see some people are like writing, like how are these protocols able to like basically pay out this percentage? And it's like Lee talked about, it's marketing, right? It's like, wow, like 25% or 19.5% I can get just by parking my UST here. That's marketing, right? Like that is just a marketing mechanism to attract liquidity to their platform, right? They need more users, they need more adoption of their stablecoin or of their platform, and that's why they offer it. And and that's why you always see that these rewards, they will come down over time. It's the way that it has to, especially as more and more money and users come onto the platform. So this whole world of like yield farming, it's kind of what you're doing, right? Like you're planting your seeds in a protocol, you're taking your fruits and you're planting them elsewhere, which is like the case that's likely going to happen with, if Near comes out with this 20% USDN and people can now only earn 18% in Anchor, there's going to be some funds transferring over there, right? So and what we're seeing now too, and what we're monitoring, right, is that like for the first time we're starting to see where you have some rotation into an ecosystem, and then there's other utility now outside of just earning the yield. Like you have Kujira on Terra, you have like some other DeFi stuff that's actually like providing other utility. So this is cool. And I think that's where we're starting to get, that's where it will really start to blow up, where we stop seeing the rotation and money just sits, right? And Terra might be there soon. But another thing about Near, it's really cool, is they've abstracted away a lot of the complexity of crypto. For instance, your wallet address is just like, it would be like Lee Ryder dot whatever. Like it would just be it's not a number, right? It's easy to remember. So I think Near, as far as onboarding people, will do a better job even than Terra did. And Terra here's what Terra did, is they grabbed the already entrenched crypto users with the tokenomics. Yeah. And then now that's been the best meme for tokenomics, Near has now abstracted away a lot of the complexity for new users, and then also given you that great meme of what is the best returning crypto right now. Yeah. So it could be potentially powerful, especially if they get somebody that stands behind it, like a Jack Dorsey or someone like that. Holy smokes. Yeah.
And I was looking at some models. You still need, like, for near to become deflationary, it still needs like 15 billion transactions a day.
Wow.
The model's pretty high. Yeah. But you could get there eventually, maybe.
Yeah. Couple of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about ETH 2.0 merge coming up.
Canceled. No, just or delayed.
Yeah, right. So, right, it was supposed to be Q2, now supposedly going to be Q3.
Yep.
For everyone that's maybe not as in the loop, like what is this whole ETH 2.0 like merge? Like what's actually happening there, and what do you think it means for ETH price?
Yeah, the major thing is trying to just make it more in line with the narrative of being environmentally friendly and then also scalability, right? And ETH is all about trying to maintain the triangle. So there's, you can have security, speed, and decentralization. So you're trying to get a balance of all those. And so most chains will opt for like speed, right? Like Solana, but then you sacrifice decentralized, right? You're more centralized. XRP, same thing, you get speed. So what ETH 2.0 is about is trying to go from proof of work to proof of stake. So more energy efficient, right? Better for the environment. And then also they're going to do like some sharding, which is for scalability. So basically they'll be able to take that main transaction chain and break it into 64 shards is the maximum. But like, for instance, Near, they're already trying to one up. Near now has a dynamic sharding model that can have an unlimited number of shards based on the demand of the protocol. So like ETH is just like it's got first mover effects. So it's going to be like Bitcoin or email that it stays around. But I think there's already better solutions out there, right? They just don't have the community yet.
For sure. And, like guys, a big misconception a lot of people have with ETH 2.0 merge, right? They're going from proof of work where you need these tons of these computers to mine it, right? To proof of stake, where now to run the blockchain, all you need to do is stake your crypto, right? Stake your ETH.
And by the way, that benefits the early adopters.
Yep. For sure. And but the thing that a lot of people think is they think, oh, this is going to solve the ETH gas fees, but in reality, that ain't coming.
Yeah, no.
That's a little ways out. Supposedly, I'm here in 2023 when they come out with the sharding, right?
Yeah.
That will actually happen. But with ETH 2.0, it does make Ethereum quite deflationary, right?
It does, yeah. They're changing the fee mechanism. Oh, is that me or you?
That was me. My
all right.
phone kicked off. We're good here.
Yeah, so they're changing the mechanism of how they burn, right? So highly deflationary at some point.
Yeah.
If the chain continues to be used.
Right. Yeah, that's.
But and I think I will, and I think what the misconception and value of ETH is not actually utilizing ETH. It's actually ETH being used as a base for all these L2s. That's really the value of Ethereum, right? And then Ethereum just becomes like a chain of proofs, not necessarily, you wouldn't interact with it directly, only the layer 2s would, and they would basically batch, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really the value of Ethereum, and they'll miss it. So maybe it gets undervalued for a while, right? And we've had these talks at 2,500 Bitcoin or $2,500 ETH, and once again, we look at the charts and we see the narrative change. It's like, well, yeah, I could see $2,500 ETH again, right?
Yep, for sure.
And I think that's a good floor, but I think we could definitely see it.
Yeah, for sure. Moving onward, I saw some people like asking about Atom in like the Cosmos ecosystem. Do you have any?
The Cosmos Hub.
Hub.
Yeah, it's kind of, just like any other token for that platform, except they have a little bit different. If you own it, you need to make sure it's staked because it is inflationary, right? I forget what the burn rate is, but it's some number to prevent hoarding.
Yeah.
But as Cosmos, I think Cosmos is going to be really amazing. That whole ecosystem is being really great. I like to focus on things that get me excited and like that get other smart people excited. And Cosmos has been one of those things that I've been excited about developing on. I've been learning about building chains on Cosmos and how that works. So I think it's going to be really great. So I think Atom's a good investment over the long run anyways. Yeah. But just make sure it's staked.
For sure. So we got Chris from Instagram. He's asking, like, do you imagine us having another huge bear season like we've had in the past? Because you've been through it, Lee. Like you've been through like all of them, right?
Yeah, I've been through a lot of them. It's like they're painful, but like they're good for the environment. I don't think they'll ever be as severe as they have been, right? Unless you get some macroeconomic events happening as well. Like if the world's going to shit, like nothing's going to be like outperforming, right? So like, let's say World War III starts. Well, that's probably going to put some price pressure on crypto initially, right?
Yeah.
But now that we see it as such a strong utility of war, yeah, I don't know, maybe that's good for it. But really, a lot of this depends on the global macro event and like what the Fed's doing with interest rates and like how much money they're printing. So let's say like the Fed starts just stop printing altogether and stop buying bonds altogether. Like maybe you could see that them try to deflate the crypto market that way. I think they would break the rest of the world and they couldn't do it for long. But I don't see us like collapsing back to 10,000 or anything.
Yeah, it'd be like it'd really be hard to imagine because it's like now like it's not like people really want to exit crypto, right? Like back in previous years they would exit, but now people are like, okay, I'll just maybe put it into stable coins and go put it into Anchor or do something. But
and I think that's more indicative, right? Like we've been talking in our group about super cycle stuff, right? And I think that's why we're getting this predictable channel that we're in, right?
Yeah.
So because you're right, the money's not leaving; it's just kind of moving around. And before it would just exit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to this guy he was like I don't know. I guess he's been a really successful investor for a long time, and he was like talking about like Amazon and Tesla stock, which are kind of these Metcalf like adoption like technology sort of companies. And he was saying that like what's happening with Bitcoin and all of crypto right now is very similar. Like it is like having these massive pumps and these 50% drawbacks or drawdowns that like happen. Like he pointed out on the chart, it was like tons of times that, like Amazon and Tesla both saw this sort of price action,
Yeah.
But it's it's short to know what to do in the short. It's hard to know what to do in the short term, right? Because like nobody really knows what's going to happen next. But like as long as you have like this longer time frame, like idea or thesis underlining, then it becomes a little bit more, I guess it becomes easier, right?
It does, yeah. And it gets easier but the start is just getting positioned, right? And usually you need to be getting positioned when it looks the worst. Like, I mean, look how much you made off your latest Bitcoin buy, right? And look how shitty that chart was at 3K or 5K. It looked like this is going to zero.
Yeah.
And that took a lot. And so now that's why do you want to get rich? Well, if you want to get rich, then you should hope the market collapses 50%, right? Because the problem is most people, they don't have the stomach when it breaks to buy it. But like, that's really what the power, the skill you're trying to build is like, when that chart looks awful, like that's where you need to start paying attention. But everyone gets really excited when it's all-time highs and they buy it.
Right. And I think that's something that you've done a great job with our group is like, since you have been through these 3 like 90% plus crashes, right? Like,
yeah,
you've been really adamant about keeping people's heads level. And then also when these buying opportunities do come, like really encouraging people to get in there,
Yeah.
Because that's when the magic.
That's what I'm doing, right? I mean, that's how you do it.
Yep.
It's kind of like, capital efficiency, right? Like using debt to make money. Most people don't know that, right? And so I think this is part of it that's not talked about much. It's important.
Yeah. Alex he's writing us on Zoom here. He's saying he has a security questions. I know you have Bitcoin, ETH, Luna, et cetera, in your portfolio. So the question is, how do you protect those assets with total confidence while hodling them or staking them for APY, APR?
Well, you need to get rid of total confidence out of your vocabulary because so like I also part of being an investor, especially frontier stuff like we're doing is like, you need to like learn like how to be comfortable with uncertainty. Right. and you need to think about your decisions and like all that more statistically versus absolute. Because when you say something like that, total confidence, that's an absolute answer, and that'll never yield good results. So now there's lots of insurance you can take out, right? So you could, for instance, on Anchor, you can buy depegging insurance. You can also buy deposit insurance.
Yeah.
So the only way to have the highest level of confidence that's possible right now in the industry would be, to only stake on platforms that allowed interest or allowed insurance, right? But there's still black swan events, like insurance companies have gone bankrupt, right? So even that is like, there is no certainty in life. And like the sooner we get comfortable with uncertainty, the more we can like kind of relieve our brain of that, because your thinking will get more powerful because you remove all the limits.
Yeah. Alex put the total confidence in quotes, by the way. So
okay.
I guess he knew that, like, there's no.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Real total confidence.
Okay. Cool.
And maybe he was asking about, like, do you hold these assets on an exchange? You hold them on a hot wallet, a cold wallet? Maybe he's asking something like that. Yeah.
So once you stake on a platform, right, you're turning over your keys, right? So that's that. So you don't have control anymore. Now, usually that's why they give you some token back, like you can, as a receipt, right? Like AUST, that's a receipt of your deposit, basically, right? Because the keys of that B Luna is now being held by Anchor Protocol. So it's hard to actually hold the physical keys in like a hardware wallet or something, right? That's why you want to make sure that the platform is audited and all that. But normally that's the protocol's responsibility, right? Like that's why you just need to audit them, because they should be storing that, like not in hot situations and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's still where we're at right now.
Yeah. And again, like there's like, it's not like things are risky or not risky. It's like this continuum, right? Like of how risky or how not, like.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, just as like a somewhat vote of confidence is generally, something, a much bigger protocol like Anchor is going to be safer than some new protocol that just came out, right?
Yes.
And while this new protocol may have better rewards, it's likely a lot more risky, which the risk really is losing everything. So
always keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But if you want to be great in life, you should always be willing to risk everything and rebuild. That's kind of like the whole point. So it's a mentality to get used to and comfortable with. Yeah. But, look how many people have been trying to break like Terra, for instance, right? Like, I'm pretty sure if that was breakable, it would have been exposed already, right? Now, maybe there's some weird buried thing that comes out a lot later. But that's the cool thing now about the space is like, there's all these auditing firms that now have best practices. And when they audit all this code, they're basically building up a library of like best results, best practices. So over time, it actually gets much safer. I mean, I don't know if you remember when DeFi first started, but or in 2018, even like the hacks were like a lot. Like I wouldn't want to have my money on exchange for more than like a couple of minutes, like just when I'm making the trade, right? So this is honestly why I didn't even get involved in DeFi early on, is just because it was so risky, because you can't hold the keys yourself, right? You are turning over control. But now this cycle has been so much better for DeFi because of the auditing.
Yeah. Alex, you said that your Terra wallet got hacked. I'm curious, like what happened there? That's interesting. I haven't heard of that. So I'll be.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You connected to a fake protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's rough, man.
I've been thinking about, we should have a link tree for maybe, and with all the links of the protocols on there, but generally you want to like bookmark and then go to like the note, like go to their main Twitter page, click on the link in their Twitter, mainly to make sure it's their Twitter, right? And then bookmark that page and only go through that bookmark, because it's too easy to like click in Google like Anchor, and like the first result for a long time until they fixed it was a false protocol.
The other thing you can do, right, is you can go to like CoinMarketCap and search for the protocol and make sure that you use that link. That's what I usually do.
Yeah. And I think we brought that up in training. We might, make a separate video that really just drives that point home about like, because maybe y'all don't know, but and maybe it's a little technical, but like it works through messaging, like all of crypto works through messaging. So like let's say I wanted to pay Adam, right? I would initiate the payment to Adam, right? In the real world with a credit card or something. But in crypto, Adam actually like pulls the money from me by sending me an initiation request. And so that's why I have to give him basically control in the beginning. So when you connect the wallet, you're basically giving that protocol control. So then they can do basically whatever you let them do. And so if you have nefarious actors, you have to be really careful. This is why Anchor Protocol can't liquidate the clients themselves, right? They actually have to have someone that's watching and initiates a message that liquidates them, which is like what Kujira does.
Yeah. Here's a shameless plug, I guess, I think will be, somebody's asking, what is the best indicator strategy for trading crypto?
Oh, dang. I mean, we use that. The SGA is probably the best I found, but
we use the SGA, baby.
SGA and the volume profile. Those two tools are like, it's sometimes scary how accurate it is.
Yeah.
And that's why I still go back, like, even when the top was coming in Luna and the narrative was so strong, like the chart was saying, nope, we're turning over. And like, it just happens. Like it just goes over. Right. And so I think that's why all information really is still boiled down in price.
Yeah. And the one other strategy that we do use inside of our group is we have this hype coin strategy that is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Pretty good.
When coins are making all-time highs, and we're kind of at that phase in the market, I mean, people made thousands of percent, like trading this really, really simple strategy that literally takes 5 minutes a day.
Yep.
No extra thinking about it, very mechanical. So when that time of, year comes around again, I think you can't beat the hype coin strategy. It's just like,
it's really effective.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, Caesar, I said shameless plug because we're actually on Zoom. We're actually on YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah.
All at the same time. It's the first time we ever done this. So we're having fun with it. Lee's on fire on Instagram. So what else do you guys want to talk about? More questions for Lee? This is your chance to ask Lee questions. He's been in the game as long as anybody. So yeah, fire away your questions and we'll try to get all of them answered. I guess some questions coming up about Luna and Terra, like where do you see the market cap potential for Terra Luna?
Ooh, I mean, that can get really high. Because let's also investigate, like, let's say Anchor doesn't give you any return. But let's just say that UST is a place that I can park my money and it track to the dollar. Like, let's remember how powerful it is. And it's algorithmic. Like, because UST, USDC, or USDT, USDC, these are centralized control. That's the only other option. So there's total value in just a coin that doesn't even give you anything except protect you from volatility. So I still think that's quite powerful.
Think about people in in Argentina or people in Venezuela or
yeah,
in Zimbabwe.
It's basically,
that's real hyperinflation. Like if they can go to the US dollar, like they're that like difference between the inflation rate and the dollar and their country's currency, like they're essentially gaining a lot of wealth in their own natural currency, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And I think UST is the first kind of platform that will be able to kind of like integrate into businesses pretty easy. Like I've been thinking about, like, I dated this girl. It was in my 20s. Her dad got really wealthy because he was one of the first people to start selling the credit card machines to businesses. So they could take so he would sell in that terminal. So someone's going to get like absolutely filthy rich by writing the software and the terminal that you can basically, like, you want to pay for something, a QR code just pops up for the Terra network. You scan your phone, boom, done. Right. So like, this is where I think Terra has really, that platform will be like a transactional used all the time. And the tokenomics are in a way where Luna is a good investment, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But it has value. I think if it can just if it doesn't depeg and it just protects me from volatility, that's huge.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, let's see. Guys, we've got about 8 minutes left, so we're going to be kind of wrapping it up. I see somebody on YouTube, you're just writing GRT, GRT, GRT. I don't know what you're doing there, but so Jay's asking about Frax and FPI. So we talked about this briefly earlier. I think it's
the stablecoin.
Yeah, about the the inflation fighting stablecoin. We talked about it a little bit earlier, so I'm not going to go back there. But it is actually something that I'm researching a lot more on, and I think I'm going to make a dedicated YouTube video about it because I do think it is a really interesting development.
Yeah.
So just hold on for that. A counter to investing in Luna is to invest in the company that actually uses the tech. Besides Bitcoin, Ethereum, Luna, what project do you think has great tokenomics and has a great future? I'll say one that I think that
What's that?
We added to the portfolio not too long ago was Rune.
Rune, yeah.
I think it has really great tokenomics.
That's gonna be huge.
Yeah, I think it has an amazing use case. I think that there's insane like opportunities to earn yield. And I think they're doing something that is very, very necessary.
Is needed.
Very needed. And for those of you guys that aren't familiar with Rune and Thorchain, essentially they are attempting and doing basically cross-chain swaps. So it's like, imagine Uniswap or PancakeSwap, where you can swap from one asset to one asset, either on Ethereum or on Binance Smart Chain. But with Thorchain, you'll be able to swap an asset on, Binance Smart Chain to an asset on Ethereum or an asset on Terra. And so it basically gets rid of this need to like do this really slow, expensive, dangerous process of bridging your funds from one ecosystem to another. So I think it's I've been using it. I think it's amazing, and also just the way that the Rune tokenomics work, that like as more volume comes on to Thorchain, like the price of Rune has to increase in the way that it works.
Yep.
I don't know if you have any other ones that you're like really.
I mean, those are pretty much it, right? Like everything else is kind of like either too fringe to be in the kind of narrative right now, but the narrative is stable coins and like connecting to real life. So I think we're at like a utility stage, and bridging's a problem. I mean, that's kind of one of the problems that we've been talking about for a long time. It's really dangerous to bridge from one chain to another. So Rune is actually going to be quite good. You can bypass a lot of problems.
And so, Jay, I see that you're asking, where do you stake Rune on ThorSwap.finance? Basically, you can pair it with anything. Like I'm currently pairing it with BUSD. You could also pair it with UST, and you can earn, like I think currently like 41% or 45%, somewhere around there.
Nice.
Like really, really good. And they have this really cool feature that after 100 days, they have what's called impermanent loss protection. So even after 100 days, there's no impermanent loss, which is basically like the opportunity cost you would have had to just buying and holding Rune.
Right.
Which is great. So.
Yeah, and I need to understand that mechanism more, but I imagine that's marketing also, right? But
yeah, I guess the way that it works is like every day you get 1% of impermanent loss protection. So after 100 days, you have 100% impermanent loss protection. I'm not a tech guy.
So it's like built-in insurance, which is cool. But even better, right? Because it goes back to people asking like, how safe is it? Well, you have to buy insurance now, right? But if this is like all in one, it's all about like what products are making it easier for people to participate in crypto. Like it's not stuff like Phantom Network that is so complicated to use. Like it's only for native crypto people. The stuff that's going to be really valuable is the stuff that's able to onboard people really effectively.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also the ThorSwap and all that has a desktop app. It also has a mobile app. You can access it through the browser. So it also has a lot of access and really good user interface.
For sure. Lee, got a question from Frosty on YouTube here. Thoughts on using trading bots for beginners to help getting profits in the markets?
It depends on the trading bot you're using. Like for instance, once again, shameless plug. We have one we use that trades the SGA automatically, but we have a bunch of data that backs up that has some statistical edge. It's definitely great to use some sort of automation just because you need to try to eliminate emotional decision making. But you can automate also with just like a sheet of paper and a list of steps if you have the self-control for that. But anytime you can add automation into your trading, it's absolutely important. And I think nowadays it's necessary because there's so much information flying around. It's easy for our brains to kind of like second guess our decisions.
Yeah. And also just say to you guys, like, be careful, like with which bot you're using.
Yeah.
Especially with like these like really high, like leverage bots or
the grid bots.
The grid bots, where if you see somebody that's making money every day, that's really good marketing, right? And it's really like sexy, but at the same time, like we've just been around the space long enough to know that these have like a really high risk of ruin where you could, more likely than not, you're going to end up dumping your entire account. So
yeah,
be careful of like these wiggle or grid bots. Like you see a lot of people advertise, you may make money for a while, but you're going to blow the account. So
yeah, it's usually just like a mathematical, like trick. Basically, it doesn't really matter what the price does, right? You're just guessing and hoping that it keeps moving in one direction. But when it goes against you too long, it blows up your account, which is inevitable, right? You have to be wrong in trading.
Yep, exactly.
I think people want to use bots because they think they'll never be wrong, but like that's not true either. You use the bot because you're trying to make sure that you do all the steps correctly and you eliminate emotion.
Yep. I think I have to answer this question, Lee, about nodes, just because like I did go down that rabbit hole, like
yeah, you did.
And like I would say that probably like my strong node investment was probably my worst investment that I made. Like going into it, I knew that there was like these Ponzi-nomics involved in it, and I thought that there was still money to be made. But we happened to be that it was at this critical mass point where, less new people continued to create nodes. And so it's caused this really sharp downward pressure on strong. If you guys are familiar with it, if not, then no big deal. But there's a million of like these node as a service type projects, and they all work the same pretty much. Like, let's be honest, they're all like Ponzi's in some sort, right? Like, so I wrote it off as a loss. I'm not continuing to buy any more of these nodes or anything like that. I'm just recouping as much of my initial investment as I can. And just kind of in my head, I've just like thrown it out. Like, so I don't know. I would be really careful about them. There's a million different forks of them, of strong nodes, which was like kind of the original of this. But just be really careful with those sort of node projects. I do like yield nodes. Like it's a little different in what it's doing. They're actually setting up master nodes.
Yeah.
They've been around for like 3 years too. So that's a much better vote of confidence for me too. And I know people that have been using it for 2 years and made withdrawals, and I have too. So I do feel better about that. But anyways, that's my little thoughts on
and that's providing utility, though. You have to always remember in crypto, like there has to be some utility at the end of the day, some way to generate a fee. Because if not, like the returns you're getting are from you. Like you're the bag buyer, right? Yeah. So you have to be really careful. So that's why we're really in a stage of utility.
Yeah.
And the master nodes are like, you need them, right? That's to help secure the network.
Yeah. So Fu is asking about like these delta neutral strategies on like Anchor and Mirror.
Yeah.
Like, and again, like if you guys aren't familiar with that, like we have videos on our YouTube channel that talks all about that. But one of the things, Fu, I don't know if you've seen, Aperture Finance recently came out. They're basically automated delta neutral strategies.
Amazing tool.
Yeah, really cool tool. Makes it easy for people. So I really like this. I think it's I've put in funds. I plan on investing more. I think it's really great.
And I think, yeah, going back, like just why Terra is good is like, even if Near does something similar, right? Terra is becoming like this very powerful DeFi ecosystem where I can borrow, where I can get UST, where I can go trade stocks. Options are coming to Terra. Like it's going to be the one-stop shop for like implementing trading strategies. So it might just not be a retail tool, right? And Near becomes like the retail tool, but I still think the platform is gearing up and setting up for just these really powerful trading tools.
Yeah. I see a lot of people asking about GRT, the graph. I don't really know much about this.
The graph. Yeah, it's like a chain link, right? Like, well, they're trying to like index. I guess they want to be like an Oracle type, but they're basically indexing data on different blockchains and then providing an API. So I could like call this API and get information from certain blockchains. Kind of like how I can call Chainlink and get like the Oracle price for Anchor. Yep.
Sure.
Indexers.
Is Link a sleeping giant or will it be killed by new technology?
Oracles are like one of those things that are under the radar, but they're like the whole reason that blockchain works as it does is because of oracles. Like, and Chainlink is the major one. I think it's going to be once again like, does Bitcoin ever die? Probably not. Did email ever die? Email sucks, and we still have email. You know, because it was like the first communication protocol on the internet, right? Like it was the thing, the first one. So, yeah, Google for blockchain. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think these early ones that are filling out these valuable services, Chainlink is valuable. Like the only way to get information like verified information into a contract is through an Oracle, which is going to be someone like Chainlink. So quite powerful.
Yeah.
Also where attack vectors could happen, right? Let's say like that's also a great place to manipulate. So you have to be careful that security is really high with those and all that, but that's a whole different bag of worms.
Yep. So Lee, we've been on here for about an hour, so I think we're going to wrap it up, guys. Unless you have any very last minute questions to ask, we're going to wrap it up. If you guys found this helpful, we do put out a lot of content for free on our Instagram as well as our YouTube channel. If you want to do a deeper dive and be able to ask questions to Lee, like and get a response within an hour, then consider joining our group. You can do that at bluedgefinancial.com/crypto. You can trade his SGA bot, get his daily analysis, ask him questions and all of that. So at whatever level that we can help you, whether it's for free on social media or if it's in our paid group and you want some more help, then we're more than happy to do so. We love this space. We're fascinated by it, just like you guys are. Yep. And we're just trying to help as many people as we can, help spread adoption and make the world a better place, actually. So with that all being said, guys, thanks so much for joining us. This was fun. We'll have to do this again. By the way, give us a 777 in the little chat box there if you guys want us to do this again. We try to do it on all platforms, on Zoom, on YouTube, on Instagram. Cool. Yeah, the hearts work on Instagram too.
Yeah, seems to work okay.
Yeah, so we'll do this again. We'll do this again maybe in a couple of weeks' time or something. So that